we meaning here, living in the West, that we were receiving from the mass media indicated that the Israelis suffered around 214 casualties in this war. I have information from, we are subjected to, telling us there's around 214 casualties in that 34-day war. It was just in a couple of days that the Israeli armed forces suffered at least 240 casualties. French intelligence, just a few months ago, came out with a report that said that the Israelis suffered around 2,200 casualties in this war. This report was carried by the New York Times. Of course, this was a report that came belatedly, many, many months later, which teaches us that we really don't have accurate reporting about what happens in the conflict that has been brewing there for so long. Now I want to transition in my, this was, as I said, like a timeline to some of the major ups and downs in the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Now I want to transition to another portion of my presentation, and this has to do with the imagery of this war. True, this is a war that is being fought. It erupts almost every decade between the two sides, and we have military confrontations or military wars. But short of that, there is a type of psychological and media warfare that is incessant and refuses to go away. And let me just draw to your attention to some of the catchwords that are deployed in this psychological and in this social type of warfare. When we read the literature, you and I hope most of you are like me, we're very interested in this conflict. We come across some buzzwords, some key words that are meant to disguise aggression, Israeli, Zionist aggression against the Palestinian people. One of these camouflaging expressions is a bypass road network. In the occupied territories of Palestine, there are two sets of highways and byways. The transportation system there has two sets of roads. One of them is called the bypass road network. Now, that word appears to be innocuous. It appears to be neutral. No one is offended when they hear a bypass road network. A bypass road network? What may come to a person's mind, especially a person living here thousands of miles away, is that, well, maybe there's some geographical obstacles, and so you build a bypass road or something like that. But what is meant by this is an exclusive network of roads for Jews only. Now imagine if you transfer that concept here to the United States, and you have a set of roads in the United States that can only be used by a certain proportion of the population. And the native population here, the predominant population here, are excluded from using that. There's another camouflaging statement that we read in this literature. It says, caught in the crossfire. Sometimes you have correspondents and you have stringers and you have reporters who are reporting what is happening in some clashes between Palestinians and Israelis. And so when Israelis are shooting or firing at Palestinians, and the Palestinians become the victims, they lose their hand, they lose their life. This expression comes into vogue, caught in the crossfire. True translation is deliberately killed. There's another camouflaging expression that's used in the language that describes and presents to us this conflict. It's called checkpoint. There's just on the West Bank, there's about 520 Israeli military checkpoints that make life hell for the average Palestinian who wants to go from one town to the next town. Sometimes a distance that's about 3 to 5 miles, which you usually can travel in 5 to 10 minutes, takes 2 to 3 hours because there are what they call checkpoints. The real word for it is choke points. There's another expression that is used. It's called closed military area. Sometimes when the press wants to go into a place in which there is an exchange of fire between Palestinians and Israelis, they are told you can't go there because it's a closed military area. Read, not a closed military area, but off limits to the press. This is at a time when they tell us, or I'm personally sick and tired of hearing it. I hope many of you are also sick and tired of hearing it, that Israel is a democracy. Another word that's used is closure. Some Palestinian areas are sealed off by the Israeli military, and they call that closure. Now, how innocent a word is that? The true designation should be siege and curfew. And that word, just like I said a moment ago, democracy, when used in conjunction with Israel, say Israel, you hear this. We just had these elections. They used it a few times. Those who were running for the highest office here in the United States, they were saying Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. That's another false statement. Israel is a chauvinist ethnocracy, if we want it to be true to the facts. Another word that is used to soft pedal the Israeli military occupation of Palestine is